Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 22nd part of What If Deku Was a Magical Girl Mascot, Quirk, Magical Girl Mascot. The author of this great fanfic is Emma Ively. Links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 22, Time for Internships. Izuku for the first time was going to school on his own. Now that he felt comfortable having 10 hours in human form, he felt like he didn't have to be in animal form for the ride there. Unfortunately, this turned out to be something of a bad idea. Hey! You're one of the kids who was in the sports at UA. Right. Called out a person on the train. Izuku jumped. Yeah. I am. Said Izuku somewhat nervously. Awesome. You did a good job. Cheered someone. Sure, there were a couple well-wishers, but then the problem came. Wait, aren't you the guy who turned Endeavor's kid into a girl? Asked another person on the train. Well, said Izuku. Oh yeah. He is the one who turned Endeavor's kid into a girl, said another person. Izuku sighed. That was pretty messed up, said another person. Hey! He can't control what his quirks does, yelled another person the train. Oh, that excuse, said someone. He ran away in tears, pointed out another person. It was clearly an accident. Where did he go? Asked someone else. It was true, Izuku seemingly disappeared. When the train got to the station, Izuku in animal form left the train while breathing heavily. He turned back human when the train left and headed back to school. As it was a rainy day, he opened up his umbrella, walked. Of course, the first time I got to school alone this happens, said Izuku. As he counted to walk, he heard Ida call out, Midoriya. Look alive. Oh, Ida. Ida. Called out Izuku. As he wasn't using his quirk, Izuku was able to catch up. So since you have 5 partners, you're going to be traveling on your own? Asked Ida. It really depends on the day, said Izuku. You don't want to know what the train was like. Ida realized that he was referring to someone talking about what happened with Shoto. How is he doing? Asked Ida. Okay, sighed Izuku. They're making him wear the girl's uniform. Oh, said Ida. They made it to the school and got to their shoe lockers. Hey, I was wondering, said Izuku. My brother will live if that's what you wanted to ask, said Ida. Oh, that's good, said Izuku. But he felt like Ida wasn't say something about his brother's condition. Which was true. While his brother was alive, the truth was he would never able to walk ever again. In the classroom, almost everyone was talking about how they were recognized on the way to school. People kept signing magical girl theme songs as me on the way to school. Sighed Tsuyu. I know, right? Giggled Achiko. Hey, it could have been worse for you, Azui, said Siro. I know, said Tsuyu, considering how she was defeated. At the door, Shoto sighed and entered the classroom. Good morning, she said. Everyone stared at her. For 2 reasons. The first was that she now had shoulder-length hair. She chose that length was because it was the same length as her mother. She would try it for a few weeks, and if she wanted a change she would get a cut, but for now, at the very least, it was that length. And of the other reason was she was wearing. No way, said Hagakure. Are you going full-on girl? Asked Kaminari in shock. Not really, the hair was my choice. But the uniform wasn't, said Shoto. What, seriously? Said Ashido. You didn't even get a choice? Asked Hagakure. Well, I think it's better that way, said Mineta. Tsuyu whacked him with her tongue. That was when Katsuki entered the room looking pissed off, well, more pissed off than usual. She was grumbling as she took her seat. Everyone in the classroom looked at her, unsure if they should approach her. Everyone looked at Achiko, Tsuyu and Shoto in particular. However, it wasn't them who approached her. "Hey Bakugo? What's wrong?" asked Kirishima. She glared at Kirishima then groaned. "It's assholes and bitches from my old school," muttered Katsuki. "Most of them have started spreading the lies and rumors about Izuku's quirk." "Oh man," said Achiko. "Wait, most of them?" asked Tsuyu. "I found out about it last night because after our chat," muttered Katsuki, "a couple assholes decided to send me messages and show me what they were saying. It's clear they're only getting on my good side because I won the sports festival." That was when Izuku entered the room. They noticed he looked kind of down. "So you saw what's going on online too?" said Achiko. "What's going on online?" asked Izuku. "Oh fuck. What happened on the way to school?" asked Katsuki. Izuku sighed and told them what happened on the train. He then slammed his face on the desk. "Of fucking course," said Katsuki. Shoto flinched at this. However, as class would be starting soon, everyone took their seats. Aizawa came in with a sigh. He saw he was getting a bunch of looks. He sighed knowing why he was getting those looks. "Okay, before I talk about the draft picks, I should bring up why Todoroki is being forced to wear the girl's uniform," sighed Aizawa. He messaged a headache that was coming on. "There's a law that passed a long time ago that makes students wear the uniform of their current sex," explained Aizawa. "It doesn't matter what they identify as, they have to wear that uniform." "That pretty messed up," muttered Kaminari. "Yes. Myself and Nizu would rather let Todoroki wear what he is more comfortable with, but there are ideas being toyed around with for the time being to skirt the law," said Aizawa. Kaminari stared snickering. Jiro jabbed him with one of her jacks. "Tiger of the Wild Wool Pussycats has also been fighting the law for years. I'm sure you can help him in the future," said Aizawa. Shoto nodded at that. She would have preferred a choice which uniform to wear after all. "Now that has been addressed, we need to talk about draft picks," said Aizawa. He took out a remote and showed off that almost everyone who was in the tournament had draft picks. The only ones that didn't were Ishido and Aoyama. Considering that Aoyama lost his pants and Ishido made him lose his pants then lost, it kind of made sense. The highest ones were Katsuki with a few thousand and Shoto trailing behind her. Izuku only got one, however. "Only one? I guess only one person wants to work with the guy who gender bent Endeavor's kid," said Mineta. Izuku once again slammed his face into his desk. "Think of these are investments for the future," said Aizawa. "In the future they could change their minds, so keep that in mind." Those that got offered were still excited for the most part. "However, today we will be having a special lesson," said Aizawa. Everyone was a bit nervous about that. "You have to choose codenames," said Aizawa. Everyone was excited by this. Katsuki turned around to look at Izuku as she sat right in front of him. "Hey," said Katsuki. "What?" asked Izuku. "You going to go with All Might Jr.? asked Katsuki with a smirk. "Are you going to go with Queen Explosion Murder?" asked Izuku. Both of them laughed. "Now take it seriously, there's a chance they could be temporary, but at the same time, they might end up permanent, comma." "And if that happens?" said Aizawa. "There would be hell to pay," said Midnight. "It's midnight," cheered Mineta. "Can you use your tail to hit him?" asked Katsuki. Izuku just sweat dropped in response. "She's going to act as judge for your names," said Aizawa. "It's not exactly my forte." It should be noted he took the name from a suggestion of his classmate Hisashi, aka Present Mike, and just went along with it. He of course regretted it. Small whiteboards were handed out so that they could write down the names they wanted. Izuku came up with his a while ago, After coming up with it, he often checked as the name would be popular to see if a hero was currently using it somewhere in the world. And his last check, which was actually a few days ago, said that no one was still using it. After a while, Midnight called out, "All right. Who will go first?" asked Midnight. "We have to present them?" thought Izuku with a sweat drop. Aoyama went first. His was the atrocious "I cannot stop twinkling." This just made everyone sweat drop. The sweat drops got bigger when she changed to "Can't Stop Twinkling." Ashido went next. With the name Alien Queen, which wasn't bad on paper, but there was a problem. "You mean like that movie Alien with the acidic blood?" "Sorry, but due to copyright reasons and Disney you have to choose another name," said Midnight. "Stupid Disney, owning almost all American movies," pouted Ashido. Thankfully the third time was the charm when Tsuyu came up. "I came up with the name when I was little, but here's what I came up with, the rainy day hero, Froppy," said Tsuyu. And the class also loved it. Thankfully the rest of the names went really well. "The gravity hero, Uravity," said Achiko when she gave her name. Midnight approved. Not too long later Katsuki went up and gave her name. "The explosive hero, Bombshell," said Katsuki. "You got that right," said Mineta. Katsuki chucked her whiteboard at Mineta so hard it drew blood. Midnight on the other hand ignored this. "Love the pun," laughed Midnight. Katsuki nodded and went back to her seat. Izuku decided to go next. "The magical bonding hero, Artemis," said Izuku. "Isn't the a reference to an old magical girl anime?" asked Midnight. "It is," said Izuku. "I figured that I might as well take a magical girl mascot's name. I know there's been a few heroes throughout the world who used the name. Is it being used right now?" asked Midnight. "Last time I checked, no," said Izuku. Midnight took out her phone and ran a quick check. "Nope, the last one who used the name retired over 10 years ago. So you're in the clear," said Midnight. Shoto went soon after. Which was just her first name. "Are you sure?" asked Midnight. "I have my reasons," said Shoto. "All right," said Midnight. It was clear that Izuku, Katsuki, Achiko and Tsuyu all knew why she chose that name. She was still trying to find herself. After a while everyone went up, except for Ida. "Ida, you're the last one," said Midnight. Ida stepped up and he seemed nervous. Much like Shoto, he went by his given name. "I'm sure about this," sighed Tenya. "Very well," said Midnight. She looked at the clock. "Looks like we finished much sooner," said Midnight. "All right. Even those without picks will be doing their internships," said Aizawa. 40 agencies have volunteered to mentor you during that week. And I expect the ones that didn't receive draft picks to choose from them. Though I will make an exception for Midoriya in case he doesn't want to go with the agency that requested him." "What does that mean?" asked Izuku. Everyone was given either a packet with either the names of the agencies that picked them or the agencies that volunteered. Though Izuku got both. He looked at the lone agency that had picked him. He immediately transformed into animal form as he turned white. "Okay Deku, it can't be that bad," muttered Katsuki as she turned around and saw the name. "What the fuck is this shit?" Meanwhile in Nizu's office, Inko was helping form some paperwork when they heard Katsuki scream that. "Looks like Bakugo saw your son's draft pick," sighed Nizu. Inko sighed. Back in the classroom, everyone became concerned by this. "Bakugo, calm down," yelled Ida. "It can't be that bad," said Tsuyu. Then she saw it and paled a little. "Never mind, it is that bad," said Tsuyu. Ida couldn't even come up with a response after seeing it. Even with his own problems he saw why it was a big deal. "What's wrong with Midoriya's draft pick?" asked Kaminari. "It's Endeavor, isn't it?" asked Shoto. "He's probably angry that Midoriya turned you into a girl," said Siro. Shoto gritted her teeth. "He's not," muttered Shoto. "He wasn't even upset about that." "Wait, you're serious?" said Mineta. Shoto nodded. "You were permanently turned into a girl and he's not upset?" asked Yayorozu. "That is messed up," said Jiro. "He seemed more upset by the fact that Izuku now has a copy of my quirk," explained Shoto. "That's even more messed up," said Kaminari. "No wonder why he's freaking out," said Kirishima. "That and something else," said Izuku. "Really, what?" asked Jiro. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you," said Izuku. It was also the fact that Inko slapped him and was now essentially using her as leverage so that he couldn't get in trouble. Katsuki the hand signal for Izuku to activate his telepathy. Izuku was, while in shock, managed to do so. "So you found about the draft pick?" sighed Inko as soon as she felt the telepathy activate. "I'm pretty sure the whole school heard Katsuki yell out," thought Tsuyu. "Hey!" mentally yelled Katsuki. "Actually," admitted Inko. "Oh, come on!" mentally yelled Katsuki. "How was he even able to pick me?" thought Izuku. "Because of the cover-up, he was allowed to still make picks," explained Inko. "Okay, that's beyond fucked up," thought Katsuki. "Izuku, you need to go with someone else," thought Achiko. "Actually, I think it's a good idea if he goes with him," thought Shoto. Everyone who was part of the bond that was in the room stared at her like she was crazy. "Let me explain. He won't try anything because he knows that if he pulls something and Izuku gets hurt in a suspicious way, then Nizu would jump at the chance of taking him down," explained Shoto. "Plus, not to mention, he still is the number 2 hero. He's trying to use Deku as a way to show to really use your quirk," thought Katsuki. Shoto nodded. "Izuku, I don't want you go with him unless Shoto goes with you," sighed Inko. "Wait, he sent you one too?" asked Achiko. Shoto nodded. "Of course he did," thought Katsuki. "You know, I've been thinking about something," thought Tsuyu. "I mean, sure, he can claim that you're a villain for slapping him, but it would his word against Principal Nizu, Mr. Aizawa, and All Might. I'm pretty sure that it would be stacked against him." Thought Inko. Flashback. Endeavor had just left the room, leaving the four. "Nizu, what are you planning?" asked Aizawa. "What?" asked Inko. "If he tried to claim you were a villain, the three of us can easily testify that you had your reasons for slapping him," explained All Might. "It's better to let him think he's one. After all, if he thinks he's one, it will be easier to gather the evidence," said Nizu with a sadistic smile. Inko shuddered at the sight. "Just smile and nod when he gets like this," whispered All Might to her. "Trust me on this." "I take it we're not telling them," sighed Aizawa. "No, it's better for the investigation to keep them in the dark," said Nizu. "I'll hide it as best I can," sighed Inko. They soon went back outside to pretending that Endeavor's plan was working. End of flashback. "I really have to get back to work," thought Inko. Okay, Mom," thought Izuku. He ended the conversation. "Auntie's hiding some reason," said Katsuki. "I'm sure there's a good reason for it," said Tsuyu. Their classmates, on the other hand, was staring at them the entire time. "So I wasn't the only one weirded out by that, right?" asked Siro. Everyone who was watching all shook their heads no. After all, during the telepathic conversation, they did have looks on their faces of an intense conversation. Sometime later, Aizawa was messaging a headache as he looked at Izuku and Shoto. "Are you two serious?" asked Aizawa. "He knows he can't pull something," said Shoto, "and from the outside it would appear that he's offering an olive branch to Izuku while helping me get used to my new powers. If something happens, please get in contact with the school," muttered Aizawa, who was done with that day. The two nodded. That afternoon, Izuku, Katsuki, Achiko, Tsuyu and Shoto all walked to the train station together. They had wanted Ida to join them, but he left earlier than they did. "I can't believe you're going with him," muttered Katsuki. "Even with my issues with him, he still is the number 2 hero," pointed out Shoto. "So who are you going with?" asked Izuku. "There's a few agencies that specialize in flood and water rescue," said Tsuyu. "I need to look more into them. If you need help, I can do that," said Izuku. Tsuyu nodded. In the past few weeks she learned that Izuku was pretty much an expert on heroes. "I was thinking Gunhead's agency," said Achiko. "Really?" asked Izuku. "Aren't you trying to be a rescue hero?" asked Katsuki. "Gunhead was a hero that specialized in martial arts. I was thinking of broadening my horizons," said Achiko. "Plus it couldn't hurt to learn new things," said Izuku. Achiko nodded. "I already chose mine," said Katsuki with a smirk. "You're not the only one who got recruited by a top 10 hero." "Oh yeah, I heard Tokoyami got picked by Hawks," joked Achiko. "That's not what I was talking about," yelled Katsuki. Achiko giggled at her reaction. "So who picked you?" asked Izuku. "Mirko," said Katsuki. "Oh, from what I heard about her, she's perfect," said Izuku. "I know, right?" said Katsuki with a grin. She then sighed and scowled. "But seriously, you two be careful with that garbage fire. I don't want to hear that there was an accident. Muttered Katsuki. Over the course of the next few weeks, everyone picked where they would be going and making arrangements. However, Izuku and Shoto's shared team-up wasn't the only one that was concerning. There was another that was deeply worrying. Ida had chosen an agency in Hosu, the place where his brother was attacked. One day, Ida was dropping some stuff as part of his duty as class representative to Nizu's office. "Thank you, Ida," said Inko. Ida nodded. "Wait," said Inko. "What is it?" asked Ida. "I've been meaning to make this offer, but before you leave for your internship, would you like to come over for dinner?" asked Inko. "What?" asked Ida. "Well, you are Izuku's friend, and it would be nice to have you over before you leave internships," said Inko. "Oh, thank you for the offer," said Ida, "but it for the best I decline. I wouldn't want to be a bother." "You wouldn't be. Achiko comes over all the time for dinner," said Inko, "and Shoto and Tsuyu have both been over at least once." Ida's sweat dropped. He also knew why she didn't bring up Katsuki in that list, as it would make sense for her to come over to eat often. "I still wouldn't want to be a bother," said Ida. Inko sighed. "Just tell Izuku if you change your mind," said Inko. Ida nodded as he left. He would not take her up on that offer. And soon enough it was time for them to leave for their internships. "Remember to be on your best behavior during this week," said Aizawa. "You got it, Teach," said Ashido. Aizawa glared at her. "Say yes, sir," muttered Aizawa. "Yes, sir," pouted Ashido. Before they could part ways, "Ida!" called out Izuku. Ida turned to Izuku, who was looking at him with Hachiko and Katsuki. "Hosu was where your brother was attacked, wasn't it?" asked Izuku. Ida didn't answer. "If something wrong, you know you can contact us, right?" asked Izuku. If you ever need to talk, said Ochako. I'll be fine, don't worry, said Ida, putting on a smile. Just don't do anything really stupid, okay, like day, said Katsuki. Ida nodded. He turned to leave. However, as he left, he ignored what they said. He was filled with vengeance, and he was going to make the one who did that to his brother pay, no matter what. The others parted ways, with everyone hoping that Endeavor wouldn't pull anything against Izuku or hurt Shoto in a way. However, they would come to realize in hindsight, it was a very good thing that the two went with Endeavor, thanks to something that would happen that week. Something that once again changed everything. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 23. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.